Hi, it's Megan again. Today's lesson is going to be about mindful breathing. We're going to look at breathing mindfully, and then we're also going to look at breathing for singing and do some singing exercises and just explore our breath more. So, with mindful breathing, the difference between our normal breathing, because we're always breathing, give me a thumbs up if you know that we're always breathing, which is good news. This is my puppy. Anyway, we're always breathing, but being mindful of our breath means that now we are going to focus with it and we're going to really be aware, become aware of our breathing. So we'll practice that together. Becoming aware of our breath as it's happening. Notice I'm breathing in as I'm breathing in, and noticing I'm breathing out as I'm breathing out brings me into the present moment. I talked in one of the previous videos about how mindfulness is really about being here now, being in this present moment with yourself, not drifting away into the past and thinking about something that already happened, and not worrying or planning about something in the future, staying here in the present. Of course, there are moments when you want to think about the future. Maybe something exciting is going to happen. Maybe you know you have a test coming up, so you need to plan for it. So there's plenty of reasons why we might be thinking about the future or even the past in moments. But with our mindfulness, we choose for this amount of time to be here in the present moment. Our mindful breathing can also help to center us and help us to really focus in. That's another great reason to practice our mindful breathing. Mindful breathing can also help us if we have a lot of strong emotions. Maybe we're super excited, we're kind of out of control a little bit. Give me a thumbs up if you're ever out of control, okay? Or maybe we're feeling a little sad and overwhelmed, and so that mindful breath can help us to kind of calm ourselves down a little bit. Maybe we just feel like we need a break. Do you ever feel like life is just too busy? There's too much stuff happening. You kind of want to just stop the world for a moment and get off. I feel that way sometimes. The mindful breath allows us to kind of slow life down a little bit, come back to just this present moment that can feel much slower than just racing ahead to something in the future. So before we dive in on our mindful breathing, let's talk a little bit about what part of our bodies do we breathe with. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment. Tell me, can you list a few parts of your body that you know are part of your breathing mechanism, what you breathe with? Can you list 3 things? Okay, well, if you listed your lungs, you got the big one, or I should say the big 2, because we have 2 lungs, right? So our lungs fill our chest cavity, and that's where the air comes in and the oxygen gets moved throughout the entire body, which is awesome. Did you mention your mouth or nose? Because the air kind of gets drawn in from our mouth or nose down into the lungs. And it also goes through what's sometimes called the windpipe, or fancy word, trachea. So the air gets drawn in to the lungs through the trachea or the windpipe. The other important word I'd like you to know or think about is the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a huge muscle. It cuts our body. Well, our body is not cut, but if we look at it, it's right below our lungs. And as we breathe in, it drops down and out. And as we breathe out, it comes back up. Let's take 3 breaths and just focus on this diaphragmatic breathing. Breathing in, letting that diaphragm drop, and then exhaling and letting the diaphragm come back. So the diaphragm already is doing this stuff on its own, but by us being aware of it and working with it, it actually helps it to go a little bit better. Really nice. Our diaphragmatic breathing is great for just normal life and for our mindful breathing, and it's also very key to our singing. Also, I'd like to take a moment. Let's pretend we have a balloon. We can think of our lungs as 2 different balloons. And as you breathe in, I want you to feel like your lungs are filling up. And then as you're breathing out, they can come in a little bit. We don't want our lungs to just collapse. That's not what's really happening. The lungs are kind of moving within a certain level of filling up and then emptying out. Our lungs are never completely empty, just for the record. So let's try this again, just filling it. Could you feel? I could even see in the video that when I was doing this, my lungs were able to fill a little bit more. Let's try it one more time, please. So breathing in Feeling that nice full feeling of the air and then breathing out. And sometimes it's nice to breathe out through your mouth. You just kind of feel like you can spend the air. So let's breathe in for 4 through our nose and blow out for 6. One more time, breathe in for 4. Blow out for 6. Great. So I wanted to just work a little bit with our breath so we could feel that. Now let's go into what we would consider a mindful breathing exercise. You can put a hand on heart and low belly if you like. That feels good to me. Or if you prefer, you can just have your hands on your knees. Let your eyes just close. Sometimes when we're practicing our mindfulness, our eyes will close so we can focus with ourselves. But if you don't want to close your eyes, you could just look down. So I'm just looking down kind of at a space right in front of my legs. So I'm just focusing with myself. So much in life we're just focused out. We're looking out what's happening with everyone else, what's happening in the world. So some of our mindfulness practices bring us nicely back just into ourself. And that's a beautiful aspect of our practice. So find a place for your hands that feels good. You could even clasp your hands together, whatever feels good for you. And let your eyes close, and we'll just practice for a moment or two together, our mindful breathing. So we're just noticing we're breathing in as we're breathing in. And notice when we're breathing out as we're breathing out. Letting yourself just relax and calm into this moment, settle in a little bit. Let's take one more mindful breath together. So just breathing in slowly and gently. And breathing out. So with your mindful breathing, your mindful challenge until I see you again in another lesson, is to find a moment or two each day to just practice some mindful breathing. Practice some different hand positions. What feels good to you? If you're feeling a strong emotion and you want to just feel like you're taking care of yourself, taking a moment to calm down a little bit, you can take those breaths. If you're super excited and you just want to drink in the good, that's going to be a different lesson. We'll talk more about how we can really notice the beautiful things in our lives. There's so many beautiful things in our lives, so we want to notice that. So we can just drink in the good. If you're feeling super angry and you take some mindful breaths, you're not going to magically get calm. So I just want to be clear about that. If you're feeling really angry and you take some mindful breaths, you're going to feel your anger. Oh, I feel that anger. I feel the energy of it. I feel the contraction, maybe tenseness. I feel some fieriness. You might be telling yourself a story. This is why I'm right and everyone else is wrong. That's something we like to do as humans. We'll talk more about our thoughts in a different lesson. But so mindfulness isn't always about just being calm, but mindfulness is about noticing what is happening. So if it's good to know that you're angry if you're angry, because then you can make a better choice about how you're going to react to your anger. Are you going to take a moment and not say something that you're going to later regret? Are you going to realize that maybe you need to apologize to someone? Do you realize that maybe somebody needs to apologize to you, or you need to ask them and try to talk to them a little bit and say, what you did really hurt my feelings. Can we talk about that? But in a way that allows for good choices as opposed to kind of reacting as we sometimes do. All right, my dears, that's our mindful breathing. I'm going to pause the video for a second and go to the piano, and we're going to look at some breathing for singing and even do a little singing together.